September 3rd, 1939, 11:15 a.m., Reich Chancellery, Berlin. The late summer sun pours through tall windows onto polished marble floors, but the room feels ice cold. Adolf Hitler stands motionless by the long table, hands clasped behind his back, staring at the crackling loudspeaker. His adjutant, Nikolaus von Below, has just twisted the volume knob higher. The clipped, unmistakably British voice of the BBC announcer fills the vaulted chamber like an uninvited ghost. Consequently, this country is at war with Germany. A heartbeat of nothing. No one breathes. The only sound is the faint electric hum of the radio and the distant clatter of a typewriter down the hall that suddenly stops, as if the building itself is listening. Hitler's eyes, usually burning with manic certainty, widen. His head snaps toward Joachim von Ribbentrop, the man who swore on his honor that London and Paris would never move a muscle for Poland. What now? The Führer's voice is low, almost boyish, stripped of its usual theatrical thunder. Ribbentrop, immaculate in his field gray uniform, opens his mouth and nothing comes out. His face drains of color so fast, the scar on his cheek stands out white. In that frozen second, you can almost touch the panic crawling through the room. Albert Speer, leaning against the column, feels his stomach drop. Hermann Goering, sprawled in an armchair moments earlier, cracking jokes about British cowardice, now sits bolt upright, jowls trembling. Even the stenographers in the corner forget to take notes. Hitler had gambled everything, on the West's paralysis. He had watched Munich, watched them hand him Czechoslovakia on a silver platter, watched Chamberlain wave that pathetic piece of paper and promise peace for our time. He had told his generals again and again, "Our enemies have leaders without backbone. They will threaten, they will posture, but they will not fight." And now the BBC is telling him, in perfect Queen English, that they will. The silence stretches until it hurts. Then Hitler turns away from the radio, shoulders stiff, and walks to the window. He stares out at the Wilhelmstrasse, as if to expect to see British bombers already overhead. Behind him, Ribbentrop finally finds his voice, thin and cracking. "Mein Führer, perhaps it is a bluff." Hitler does not turn around. His reflection in the glass looks suddenly small. 6 days earlier, August 28th, 1939. Same room, same sunlight, but the mood is electric with triumph. Hitler paces like a caged wolf, voice rising and falling in that hypnotic cadence his inner circle knows too well. Maps of Poland are spread across the table like a butcher's diagram. Red arrows slice toward Warsaw in less than 2 weeks. "They will do nothing," he snaps, slapping the table so hard the pencils jump. "I have seen them. I have looked into their souls at Munich. Chamberlain is an old woman. Daladier is a coward who hides behind his mistress. They want peace at any price." Ribbentrop nods vigorously, the loyal echo. He has just returned from Moscow, with the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact still warm in his briefcase, the ink barely dry on the secret protocol that carves Poland like a roast between wolf and bear. "Britain and France are militarily unprepared, mein Führer. Their armies are a joke. Their publics scream for peace. I give you my word. At most, a few sharp notes of protest." Goering laughs, that booming theatrical laugh, pouring himself another cognac. "Let them declare war. They declared war in 1914 and sat behind the Maginot Line picking their noses while we took Poland in 18 days. History repeats itself. Only this time, we are stronger and they are weaker." The generals murmur agreement. Keitel nods, Jodl makes a note. Even the usually cautious Admiral Canaris stays silent. No one wants to be the one who rains on the parade. Hitler stops pacing. He leans over the map, fingertips drumming beside the city of Danzig. "I am not gambling," he says, quietly, almost tenderly. "I am forcing their hand. Once we have Poland, the corridor, the coast, the grain, the oil, once the Polish army is annihilated in 14 days, they will accept the fait accompli, exactly as they accepted Czechoslovakia. They always do." He straightens, eyes gleaming. "Our enemies are shopkeepers and Democrats. They count the cost. They fear their own voters more than they fear us. Mark my word, there will be no war in the West." The room erupts in confident laughter. Someone proposes a toast. Glasses clink. 6 days. That is how long their certainty lasts. Now, on this Sunday morning, the laughter is a ghost. The same men stand in a loose semicircle around the radio, watching their God discover he might be mortal after all. Hitler finally turns away from the window. His face is hardened again, but you can still see the tremor at the corner of his mouth. "Ribbentrop," he says, voice dangerously calm. "You told me they would not fight." Ribbentrop swallows. I believe the British were bluffing, mein Führer. Perhaps they still are." Hitler's stare could free his blood. Outside, church bells begin to ring across Berlin. Normal Sunday bells for a city that does not know everything has changed. September 3rd, 9 a.m. 2 hours and 15 minutes before the BBC announcement. In London, the sky is the color of wet slate. A thin drizzle slicks the pavements outside 10 Downing Street. Inside the cabinet room, Neville Chamberlain sits hunched, looking 10 years older than the man who came home from Munich waving a piece of paper. On the table in front of him lies the final British ultimatum, already delivered to the German embassy at 9 a.m. sharp. If Germany does not give satisfactory assurances that it will immediately suspend all aggressive action against Poland and withdraw its troops, His Majesty's government will without hesitation fulfill their obligations to Poland. The deadline is 11 a.m. British time, noon in Berlin. The clock on the mantelpiece ticks like a metronome of doom. Lord Halifax, eyes red from no sleep, stares at it. The First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, still on the outside of power but already prowling the corridors, leans against the doorframe, puffing a cigar, waiting for history to catch up with him.
At 11:02, the telephone rings. It is the Foreign Office. The German reply? Silence. No assurances. Nothing. Chamberlain's hand trembles as he sets the receiver down. He does not look at his ministers when he speaks. Then, there is no alternative. He walks alone to the small broadcasting studio that has been set up in the basement of number 10. Microphones wait like black flowers. Chamberlain's voice, when it finally comes over the airwaves, is exhausted, almost apologetic, but it is steady enough to end the world as Europe has known it. Back in Berlin, Hitler has been up since dawn, refusing to believe the British note could be serious. He spent the morning dictating orders for the complete annihilation of the Polish army, convinced the ultimatum is theater. Ribbentrop keeps repeating that the British ambassador, Neville Henderson, personally assured him London wanted only a face-saving gesture. At 11:10 a.m. Berlin time, the German Foreign Ministry finally decodes the intercepted British ultimatum. An aide sprints through the corridors of the Chancellery, clutching the transcript. He bursts into the room where Hitler is laughing over reports of Polish cavalry charging tanks, the myth already taking shape. The laughter dies the instant the aide hands him the paper. Hitler reads it once, twice. His lips move silently as he translates the English in his head. Will without hesitation fulfill their obligations. He looks up. For the first time in public, the mask slips completely. The man who screams at crowds of hundreds of thousands suddenly looks like someone who has just been told his house is on fire and the insurance has lapsed. He does not shout. He whispers, almost to himself. They mean it. Then louder to the room. Get me Mussolini. Now. But even as the order leaves his mouth, he knows. Mussolini has already sent word this morning, Italy will remain neutral. The Duce is not marching. The last card has fallen. September 3rd, 1939, 11:17 a.m., Reich Chancellery. The BBC voice fades into a soft hiss of static. The silence that follows is so complete you can hear the blood pounding in your own ears. Hitler stands perfectly still, one hand flat on the map table, as if the wood is the only thing keeping him upright. The red arrows pointing at Warsaw suddenly look childish, like a boy's crayon scribbles on the face of fate. Goering is the first to break. He lurches to his feet, medals clinking, face flushed crimson. This is insane. The British have no army. They have nothing. They are doing this to save face, nothing more. But his voice cracks on the last word, and everyone hears it. Ribbentrop tries to speak again, something about negotiating, about a conference, about anything. Hitler cuts him off with a look so venomous, the foreign minister actually takes a step backward, bumping into Speer. Speer never forgets the next 30 seconds. He will write about them years later on a prison notepad at Spandau. I saw the Führer age in front of me. The skin under his eyes turned gray. The corners of his mouth pulled down as though an invisible hand had grabbed them. For the first time, he looked ordinary. Hitler finally moves. He walks to the great double doors that lead to the Mosaic Hall, throws them open himself, something he never does, and shouts down the corridor, "Send for Keitel and Brauchitsch, immediately." Then he turns back to the room, and when he speaks again, the familiar snarl is back, but it is thinner now, stretched over panic like paper over a broken window. So, they want war. A pause. They shall have war. He says it like a man trying to convince himself the gun pointed at his head is unloaded. In that instant, the spell breaks. Aides scatter. Telephones begin to ring. Boots hammer on marble. The machinery of the Reich jerks into motion, but everyone in the room knows the truth. The timetable just shattered. Hitler crosses to the window again. Far below, Berliners are strolling in the Tiergarten, newspapers under their arms, unaware that the continent has slipped its moorings. A little girl in a red coat is feeding the ducks. He watches her for a long time. Then, so quietly, only Ribbentrop hears it, he mutters, "If Chamberlain had been firmer in 1938, I would never have dared this." Ribbentrop blinks, unsure if he has heard correctly. By the time he opens his mouth, Hitler has already turned away, barking new orders, voice rising again into the old theatrical fury. But the damage is done. In that one unguarded sentence, the entire gamble is laid bare. He never believed they would fight. Not really. And now the room knows it too. Outside, the church bells keep ringing for Sunday peace. September 3rd, 1939, 12:45 p.m., the Reich Chancellery, the Führer's private study. The doors are closed now. Only the inner circle remains. Hitler sits behind the massive desk, elbows planted, fingers steepled so tightly the knuckles are white. The swagger is gone. In its place is something colder, more dangerous. Calculation, laced with rage. General Wilhelm Keitel and Walter Brauchitsch, Commander-in-Chief of the army, stand at attention like schoolboys summoned to the headmaster. Both men have just been handed copies of the British Declaration. Both men know the Wehrmacht's entire strategy was built on a single assumption: no second front in 1939. Hitler does not shout. Not yet. He speaks with the terrifying softness he reserves for moments when he is truly furious. "Gentlemen, you assured me we had until 1942, perhaps 1943, before the West could mount a serious offensive." He taps the declaration with one finger. "Explain to me how this is possible." Brauchitsch swallows. "Mein Führer, the British Expeditionary Force is tiny. 4 divisions at most, poorly equipped. The French have the Maginot Line. They will not attack." Hitler's eyes narrow. They do not need to attack. They only need to exist. Every shell, every aircraft, every man I now have to keep in the West is one I cannot use to finish Poland or later Russia. A long silence. Keitel shifts his weight. The iron cross at his throat glints like an accusation. Then Hitler leans back, and the old demonic energy floods in again. "Very well. If the English shopkeepers and the French wine drinkers want a long war, we shall give them a short one instead. Poland will be crushed in 14 days, no, 10 days. Then we turn west and smash France before the leaves fall. The British will be left alone on their island, and we will deal with them at our leisure." He stands, voice rising to the familiar shriek. "They have made the greatest mistake of their lives." But the generals hear what he does not say. The timetable is broken. The lightning war in the West that was supposed to wait until 1942 or 1943 must now be improvised in weeks. The Siegfried Line opposite France is a propaganda facade, half-built bunkers, wooden dummy guns, no depth. The army is still horse-drawn. The Luftwaffe is magnificent but small. The panzers are fast, but there are only a handful of divisions truly ready. And now every British and French soldier, no matter how badly trained, ties down a German one. Across the room, Heinrich Himmler watches with his unblinking reptile stare, already calculating how to turn catastrophe into power.
Joseph Goebbels licks his lips, scenting the greatest propaganda challenge and opportunity of his life. Hitler sweeps the Polish maps aside and slams a new one onto the desk. France, the Low Countries, the Channel Coast. He stabs a finger at the Maginot Line. "Here we do not attack. We go around, through Belgium, just as in 1914, the Schlieffen Plan reborn, but faster, harder, merciless." Brauchitsch opens his mouth to protest Belgium's neutrality, world opinion, the risk. But one look at Hitler's face silences him. The decision is made. The war that was meant to be local has just become continental. The war that was meant to be quick in the east and leisurely in the west has reversed itself. And in that moment, unnoticed by any of them, the ghost of 1914 slips into the room and sits down in the empty chair. September 3rd, 1939, 5 p.m., London, the House of Commons. The chamber is a cauldron. MPs are packed shoulder to shoulder, faces flushed, ties askew, the air thick with sweat and cigarette smoke. Neville Chamberlain rises slowly to the dispatch box. He looks like death warmed over, but when he speaks, there is steel beneath the weariness. "Whatever may be the feelings of the people of this country, we are at war." A roar erupts, half cheers, half animal howl. Men who wept for peace yesterday now leap onto benches, waving order papers like battle flags. In the strangers' gallery, foreign journalists scribble so fast their pencils snap. One American correspondent, William Schreier, watches Winston Churchill, still out of the cabinet, lean forward in his seat, eyes blazing, lips moving silently, as if he is praying the words, "I told you so," will not escape. At 5:07 p.m., the air raid sirens begin their first mournful wail across London. False alarm, just a French liaison plane, misidentified, but the entire house freezes. For 10 long seconds, every man there tastes what the next years will feel like. When the all clear finally moans, the cheering comes back louder, almost hysterical. Across the channel, at 5:30 p.m. French time, Prime Minister Edouard Daladier broadcasts from Paris. His voice is hoarse, shaking with emotion few expected from the stolid bull of the Vaucluse. This is a dark day, but France will not bow. In Berlin, Goebbels listens to both speeches on shortwave, translating furiously for Hitler. The propaganda minister's face twists into something between rage and ecstasy. "Magnificent," he hisses. "They sound like they are marching to their graves. We will use every word." By 8 p.m., the first German radio address crackles across the Reich. Hitler himself does not speak. His nerves are too raw. Instead, a grim announcer reads the official communiqué. Since 11 a.m. today, a state of war exists between the German Reich and the British Empire. Across Germany, people gather around radios in cafes, in village squares, in air raid shelters not yet needed. Many cheer. Many more stand in stunned silence. In Munich, a woman faints in the street when she hears the news. In Hamburg, dock workers quietly cross themselves. At 9:15 p.m., the first British bombs fall on German soil. Not high explosive, just leaflets. RAF Whitleys drone high over the Ruhr in the moonlight, dumping millions of sheets that flutter down like white moths. Your leaders have lied to you. This war will destroy Germany. In the Reich Chancellery, Hitler stands on the balcony in the warm night air, watching searchlights sweep the sky that is still empty of enemy aircraft. Behind him, Goebbels is already dictating tomorrow's headlines. Jewish plutocratic warmongers force war on peace-loving Germany. But on the balcony, alone for once, Hitler stares west. The mask is off again. No crowds, no microphones, just the distant throb of Berlin traffic and the first faint taste of something he has not felt in years: uncertainty. He mutters a single sentence into the darkness, so low no one hears it. "They should have let me have Poland." Then he turns inside, slams the balcony doors, and the war, the real war, begins. September 4th, 1939, 3:17 a.m., the Reich Chancellery, the map room. The lights burn harsh and white. Coffee cups and overflowing ashtrays litter every surface. Hitler has not slept. No one has. He stands alone over the great wall map of Europe, a single lamp throwing his shadow huge and distorted across France and the Low Countries. A grease pencil trembles in his hand as he sketches, erases, sketches again, the impossible arrow that must now drive through Belgium and Holland to reach Paris before winter. Behind him, the door opens softly. Albert Speer enters carrying fresh situation reports from Poland. He stops when he sees the Führer's face in profile, haggard, eyes sunken, the left hand twitching in that familiar spasm. Speer will remember this moment for the rest of his life. He clears his throat. "Mein Führer." Warsaw is encircled. The Polish government has fled to Lublin. Our losses are minimal. Hitler does not turn. "Good," he says, voice flat. Then in 10 days, it is over. And then we have 4 weeks, no more, to turn the entire army west before the rains come. He finally faces Speer, and for the first time there is no performance, no theatrics. 4 weeks, Speer, do you understand? The French have 8 million men under arms once they mobilize. The British will ship whatever they have. We must knock France out of the war in a single blow, or we fight on 2 fronts with winter at our backs and no reserves. Speer nods, throat dry. He has never heard Hitler admit the possibility of failure before, not even as a hypothetical. Hitler steps closer, lowering his voice to a whisper that somehow feels louder than any scream. I miscalculated them. I thought they were decadent, weak. I thought they would swallow Poland the way they swallowed Austria, the Sudetenland, Prague. I was wrong. The confession hangs in the air like poison gas. Then, just as quickly, the old fury surges back. He slams the grease pencil down so hard the tip snaps. But they have miscalculated too. They think this will be another 4-year trench slaughter. They do not understand what we have built. Speed, armor, air power. We will give them a war they have never imagined. He strides to the window. Dawn is still 2 hours away, but the first pale glow touches the rooftops of Berlin. Tell the generals, he says without turning, that from this moment forward, every train, every shell, every liter of petrol is to be stockpiled for the West. Poland is a sideshow now. France is the prize. If we take France quickly, Britain will beg for terms. If we fail... He does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. Speer leaves the room on silent feet. In the corridor he passes Ribbentrop, still in evening dress, face puffy from drink and humiliation. The foreign minister tries to speak, but Speer walks past without a word. Later that morning, in the cold gray light, the first mobilization orders for Fall Gelb, Case Yellow, the still unborn plan to invade France, are quietly typed and stamped most secret. No one yet dares give it a date, but every man who sees the folder feels the same chill. The war Hitler wanted to postpone for years has been forced upon him 6 years too early. The war he thought would never come in the West is now the only one that matters. And in that silence between the ticking clocks and the distant rumble of trains already rolling east toward Poland, the Reich begins to understand the full, terrible price of that single question asked in genuine shock on a Sunday morning. What now?